Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the invisible biological damage that's actually happening inside your head every single time you skip sleep. Look, we all know we're supposed to get our 8 hours, right? But the truth is, the consequences of missing it are, well, they're far more fascinating and honestly a little more terrifying than just feeling a little groggy the next day.
Let me set the scene for you here. Have you ever stayed up just one extra night for, 5 more minutes of scrolling? You're lying in bed, you've got that phone glow illuminating your face, and you're just endlessly scrolling TikTok at 2 a.m. Then the next morning rolls around. You wake up feeling rough, sure, but you grab a massive cup of coffee, power through, and tell yourself everything is totally normal. You survived. But did you really? Because inside your brain, a completely different story is unfolding.
While you're going about your day fueled by all that caffeine, assuming everything is completely fine, tiny toxic waste products are literally starting to build up inside your brain. So the really crucial point here is that even if you feel perfectly capable and awake, there are invisible, incredibly serious biological consequences accumulating right under your nose. Your reaction times are already slowing down, your memory is getting weaker, and honestly, you probably don't even realize it's happening yet.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think of your brain like this incredibly high-performance computer. When you're awake, it's actively processing millions of signals, right? It's moving muscles, balancing hormones, keeping your heart beating. But it never actually turns off when you go to sleep. Instead, it switches into a highly critical maintenance mode. And without this essential system update, the physical repairs to your brain simply never finish.
So what exactly happens if you push that biological computer just a bit too far? Let's say you stay awake for exactly 24 hours. Just one full day and night with zero sleep. Well, the very first thing that starts to fail under this kind of pressure is your brain's primary decision-making center.
Right at that 24-hour mark, this intense biological tug-of-war begins between your prefrontal cortex, which is the part that handles logic, focus, and self-control, and your amygdala, which is your emotional reaction center. Now, normally, your prefrontal cortex is the boss. It keeps your emotional amygdala perfectly in check, but when you're sleep-deprived, that logical control center slows way down, and the emotional center goes into absolute overdrive. This is exactly why after a terrible night's sleep, tiny little inconveniences like dropping a pen or hitting a red light feel completely overwhelming. You're basically operating on raw emotion without the logic to balance it out.
And this biological breakdown also completely wrecks our ability to learn. Have you ever spent hours studying for a test, or maybe prepping for a big presentation, only to sit down the next day and realize you've completely forgotten everything you just reviewed? Yeah, it turns out learning doesn't just happen while you're sitting at your desk awake.
Throughout the day, your brain is recording thousands of temporary memories. Step 2 is where sleep actually comes in. It initiates this vital transfer process, moving all those short-term files into secure long-term storage in Step 3. It's just like moving files on your computer desktop into their proper folders. But if you skip sleep, that transfer never happens. The new information you spent hours studying, it simply disappears into the void.
Now, what's really interesting about this is something called the glymphatic system. This is a highly specialized nocturnal cleaning mechanism inside your head that literally washes your brain, flushing out damaged proteins and toxic waste. Yes, your brain acts like a biological washing machine. But here's the catch. It only runs that heavy-duty cycle while you are resting.
When you enter deep sleep, your brain cells literally shrink slightly. It's wild. But this tiny physical change creates open space, allowing specialized fluid to rapidly flow through your brain and flush out all that toxic waste. It's basically like a city's night shift garbage trucks rolling through. If you skip sleep, this biological night shift gets canceled, and the waste just piles up. In fact, researchers believe this long-term lack of routine cleaning might significantly increase the risk of neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's later in life.
But wait, it actually gets stranger. What happens to a cleaning crew that is just desperate and totally overworked? Well, in recent animal studies, researchers discovered something pretty shocking. When deprived of sleep for too long, the brain's support cells, the ones normally responsible for just taking out the trash, become unusually hyperactive. They get so aggressive that they actually start removing healthy neural connections. To go back to our analogy, the cleaning crew gets so desperate that instead of just taking out the garbage bags, they literally start throwing away your good furniture. Sleep is absolutely non-negotiable for keeping your brain cells intact and healthy.
Okay, let's shift gears to something I think we have all experienced. Why is it that when you stay up late, you suddenly crave pizza, chocolate, chips, or ice cream at midnight? I mean, you rarely crave a salad at 2 a.m., right? We usually just blame this on poor willpower, but it's actually a massive biological shift happening right inside your body.
See, when you don't get enough sleep, a massive hormonal imbalance kicks in. The hormone that makes you feel hungry skyrockets, while the hormone that tells your brain you're full drops significantly. Your brain literally starts chemically demanding high-calorie, sugary foods. And hey, remember what we learned about the prefrontal cortex just a minute ago? Your logic and self-control center is already weakened. So you've got massive chemically induced cravings paired with literally zero willpower to fight them. It is the absolute perfect biological recipe for high-calorie overeating.
So knowing all this invisible damage is happening, the memory loss, the toxic buildup, the cravings, the emotional volatility, you might be thinking what most of us think. Can I just catch up on my sleep this weekend? It is a hugely common myth that you can just grind through the work week and completely reverse weeks of sleep deprivation with one long weekend of sleeping in until noon.
The reality? It's a mere 1%. Think of your smartphone. If you constantly abuse your phone battery, letting it drop to 1% every single day before plugging it in, the overall health of that battery degrades. Leaving it on the charger all weekend won't magically reverse the permanent damage caused by that repeated daily stress. One long night of sleep might make you feel a little less groggy, for sure, but it does not erase the biological toll. The only real, scientifically proven strategy to protect your brain is consistent, nightly sleep.
Which brings us to our final profound takeaway for this explainer. You're not stealing time from your night. You're borrowing energy from your future. When you sacrifice your sleep for one more video, one more level in a game, or just answering a few more emails, you aren't magically gaining free hours. Your brain is keeping a ledger, and it will always, eventually, ask for that borrowed energy back. So tonight, when that 2 a.m. urge to scroll hits, I really want you to remember the incredible, invisible work happening under the hood and ask yourself, is whatever you're looking at really worth the cost of your future energy?